Good evening, everybody. Francine, call the meeting to order.
Governing remote meetings, NJAC 539-1.5. I hereby announce that adequate notice and electronic notice of this meeting was provided in a notice dated January 14, 2023, that was sent to the Asbury Park Press, Two River Times, posted on the bulletin board and on the main access door to Town Hall, filed in the clerk's office, and posted on the township's website, www.holmdeltownship.com.
Roll call.
Mr. Burkle?
Mr. Burkle?
Here.
Ms. Campus?
Ms. Campus?
Ms. Gerhart?
Here. Here.
Mr. Giampolo?
Here.
Mr. Giuliani? Mr. Giuliani's absent. Mr. Orfanopoulos?
Here.
Mr. Hutchinson? Mr. Hutchinson is absent. Mr. Fregiola? Mr. Fregiola is absent.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stand for a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The moment of silence were for police, first responders, and military. Didn't say that. Okay, tonight's hearing, go ahead.
Public hearing number 2, item 1. Zoning Board of Adjustment 2023-10, Andrews Management Group, LLC, 125-127 Red Hill Road, Block 21, Block 4, and 4.01, R40A zone, D1 use variance. Bifurcated application seeking a D1 use variance to construct 2 3-story medical office buildings in the R40A residential zone.
Good evening. This is a continuing hearing. Tonight, from what I understand, we're only going to be hearing from an engineer and questions for the engineer by the board and the public. Is that correct?
And, subject to the reservation of Objectors Council.
Right, because he couldn't make it here tonight.
Next year, because he couldn't make it on the record last time.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Dante Alfieri on behalf of the applicant. As Mr.
Is it red?
There's a button underneath. Otherwise, you have to hold it.
Is it on red?
Hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So as Mr. Flagler stated, we are here seeking the board's approval, but tonight we are having limited testimony with relation to engineering. At the previous meeting on September 4th, we started the engineering testimony. There were some comments and questions from the board and the board's professionals. We do have our engineer to provide testimony tonight. Mr. Simon issued a letter on September 17th notifying the board and my office that he would not be in attendance tonight and reserved the right to cross my witness. Unfortunately, my engineer will not be available on December 4th. We will provide testimony from our traffic and planning professionals on that date, and then we can have a subsequent date set for cross with relation to engineering or other comments.
So what, your next date was December what?
The next meeting is December 4th.
That's when they're booked? So then it may not be till next year then at that point. The next hearing after that.
Yeah, well, admittedly, based on that testimony,
Obviously, assuming you consent, we did put on the record, Mr. Simon could cross, your engineer was finished up. Obviously, there'll be another hearing.
Yes, oh yes, we understand that. We're not objecting to that. Our engineer is not available that date, that's why. But we would like to continue with everything and provide our testimony with relation to planning and traffic at the December meeting. But tonight is really limited just to the engineering, finishing up the engineering testimony, and addressing some of the board's comments and the professionals' comments.
Okay.
So without further ado, I'll have our engineer introduce himself.
We have to swear, guys.
and you're still sworn from the last hearing as well as our professionals.
Correct.
Are there going to be copies for the board on this? Okay, thank you.
This was a previous exhibit, Mike?
Well, we want a paper copy.
This is the site trial.
So we're going
So we're going to introduce a new exhibit.
What are we up to?
Courtney, I believe we left off at A3.
I believe so.
Okay.
This would be A4.
And could you just identify the exhibit to the board?
Sure, Exhibit A4.
Exhibit A4 is titled Conceptual Site Triangle Exhibit. And where I start tonight, as you introduced, I'll touch on a few of the comments and questions that were raised at our hearing 2 weeks ago before I formally continue with my prepared testimony.
You have the small versions of that to distribute? or-
Yes.
We do have handouts.
I know they were emailed ahead of time, but just.
Because if we all have it, then you could tilt it a little bit more for the public.
Thank you.
And these are provided consecutive.
Greece. So A1, 2, and 3 are here too.
That's correct. A2, 3, and 4.
A2, thank you.
Architectural exhibits.
Wait, is this A1 over here? No, A4. This is A4, right?
The big one is
A4.
A4 is the one with the green grass, right?
Yeah, it's the last.
No, I don't think so.
I would begin first with resuming
So can you just turn that for a minute so the board can?
Yeah, just so we can write on our paper what exhibits letters are what.
So that's the last page.
So that's,
new Exhibit A4.
okay, A4. Go backwards. And what was the one that you had before up?
A3.
A3, okay.
Second page of your packet, site rendering. And A2 is the first page aerial page.
Okay, now you can refer to them, we'll know what you're doing, face it so the public could at least see what's going on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, take those. Thought I'd begin our
discussion,
resuming the topic of the presence absence LOI. So we had researched and obtained a copy of that application that was submitted to NJDEP, and we had provided that to Mr. Bucco. Shortly after providing that, he and I had a brief conversation to discuss that application. I felt that it had two key strengths. First, that it was prepared by Du Bois Associates, which is a very reputable environmental firm. Second, that the provided reference maps included a GeoWeb or similar screenshot of the subject property, clearly indicating the likely presence of wetlands, which would have drawn the attention of NJDEP to ensure that they acceptably inspected the property. Therefore, I feel that the thoroughness of that application makes it sufficient for confidence in its nature and LOI.
Turn yours on. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that's correct. But I did have our environmental group look at it, and they came back with the LOI, the absence determination is valid. So the way that they did perform their reports and applications and field visits were valid ways that the LOI and state recognizes how it's done, so it is a valid LOI, presence absence. And
Okay.
my other question would be, was the site plan designed to meet all the requirements of the LOI presence absence? Is the site plan designed to meet the requirements of the LOI?
The current plan that was submitted, the use variance plan, would have been yes.
That was my question.
Thank you, Mr. Bucco. I would then continue into Exhibit A4 that you see before you, which is again titled Conceptual Site Triangle Exhibit. What this exhibit is, it shows the subject property with the improvements, black and white, the parcel lines via GIS, and obviously an underlying aerial image. And what I apologize is a bit difficult to see is the site triangle elements depicted in pink.
Good luck with that.
Does it show better on the large than what we have here? Does the pink show up better on your copy than the
I think it
small
actually
one?
may be worse on my copy.
Okay.
Yeah, because really it's almost,
But I can certainly discuss what this plan demonstrates. So the site triangle easement that potentially impacts block 1045, lot 12 in Middletown is located on the opposite side of Red Hill Road and south of the subject property. Again, that easement is the result of a 500-foot long required site triangle from the proposed driveway. Now that easement, as we've again conceptually designed it here with the information available at this time, demonstrates that there could be up to a 5-foot approximate encroachment onto that property. However, as I may have testified to during the September 4th hearing, we understand that a site plan application may have been submitted to the Township of Middletown. If that's the case, we would anticipate that the same 10-foot right-of-way dedication to the county would have been required, which would likely negate the need for any site triangle easement to benefit our project. No questions on that matter. I'll move on to the stormwater management. And for that, I will refer back to our prior exhibit, A3. So our preliminary plan includes 2 bioretention systems provided as terrestrial forested communities per the NJBP or New Jersey Best Management Practices Manual. Now, given their locations along the Red Hill Road frontage and the approximate center of the site, I felt that it was imperative to design these as aesthetically pleasing features with sufficient landscape, which is why they're designed as such a bioretention system. You'll also notice that wrapping the central system is a potential porous pavement system. Given that the site is approximately 5 acres in size, 2 stormwater features or BMPs are sufficient to meet the 2.5-acre maximum drainage area requirement. The proposed locations that you see here are sensible in that the site predominantly drains rear to front, left to right toward Red Hill Road. The systems would discharge via a connection to existing infrastructure, inlets and pipes, near the intersection of Red Hill Road and New Parkway off-ramp. Now, per the USDA NRCS Web Soil Survey, on-site soils are considered hydrologic soil group, or HSG B as in boy, which are considered well-drained soils. The prior soil investigation that was performed at the property consisted of 7 soil profile pits and infiltration tests. The profile pits generally indicated a fairly consistent seasonal high water table depth of approximately 6 feet, and the majority of the performed infiltration tests revealed rates ranging from 3 to 7 inches per hour. Now, as part of any subsequent site plan application that we may be fortunate enough to submit, we will perform additional soil testing to ensure that an adequate number of tests are provided within the proposed stormwater areas. In summary, our stormwater system will meet the state's requirements at NJAC 78, including the 2021 Green Infrastructure Rule and the 2023 Inland Flood Protection Rule. Moving on then to some of the other utilities.
Mr. Chairman, just for the board's information provided was enough because this is by application required that the testimony that was just given is accurate. The information that I received for review for the stormwater was adequate enough to say that the site could accommodate the stormwater. What you should also know is the stormwater underground detention facility is what I'll call upstream of the proposed sanitary sewer field. So the water quality aspect of the stormwater management would not be affected by a proposed septic system.
Are you going to speak on the septic at all?
I will, very shortly.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. So touching on again, some of the other utilities that will be serving the project. First, the development will be served by public water via a connection to the existing New Jersey American water main within Red Hill Road. Second, for sewer, as the property lies obviously outside of the sewer service area, each building would be served by an individual septic system. The previously mentioned soil testing that you heard me discuss a moment ago indicated K ratings of K3 or K4, which are suitable for septic systems. Again, as part of any subsequent site plan application, we will perform additional test pits within the area of the two proposed septic fields to ensure adequate infiltration and separation to the water table. And then finally, gas and electric would be provided.
Mr. Chairman, again, septic system. Two septic systems cannot be on one lot. And I want to hear some testimony as to how the applicant is going to address that issue.
So that's correct. And primarily here, because of the gallonage, the estimated flow from each building is approximately 1,860 gallons per day. Typical septic system, as we would understand it, is maxed out at 2,000 gallons per day. At that point, you're allowed to submit your application to the county health department, who typically has jurisdiction, and it's generally capped at their level. Again, in this case, because of the flow threshold being exceeded, what we would have to do is make application to the state NJDEP, first for what you may have heard the acronym NJDEP permit, New Jersey Pollution Discharge Elimination System, which I would say is somewhat analogous to the process of placing an application site into the sewer service area. Different process, but analogous in terms of its duration. Following receipt of any such permit, we would then make a sewer or septic application to the state for receipt of a state works approval, which is a typical approval obtained for a gravity sewer system, but again, in this case, it would be for septic.
Now, where you have the septic system, is that the lowest part of the property? Is that why it's there?
Yes, that is one of the lower portions of the property.
Is there any other area besides that area that you could have that?
At this time, that's the ideal location. Any redesign or any different locations would obviously require a redesign.
I'm just concerned that it's right near the property of the other property owner below.
The requirements for separation, the state rules list helpful various dimensional requirements. So I would just flip through my notes.
Bob, is there any requirement how far from the property line the septic system can be?
That distance is only 10 feet.
For a commercial situation?
There is, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But there are requirements, especially if you got to go through the GP's permit. All of those issues will be addressed.
Okay. Any comments?
No.
Okay.
What is the size of these septic fields? And if you can do it in relation to a normal residential septic field?
So the fields that you see, the placeholder rectangles that you see in the exhibits here, particularly on Exhibit A3, are dimensioned at approximately 100 feet by 33 feet. And that is a typical appropriate size for the flow that they would be receiving.
How many gallons is the tank?
The tank hasn't been designed at this point.
Okay, so the fields go before the tank?
No, the tank would go before the field.
No, I know that, but I mean, as far as the design work, you put the field over there, but we don't know where the tank is going to go.
Knowing that it's possible for the tank to go in various locations on the site as it's been designed, that can be done later. It's critical that the septic fields are proposed in an area that's not beneath any pavement. So it was more critical to ensure we had adequate space for the fields.
All right.
Okay, what would be, what's an average home size 50 by 15, you know, what is, trying to relate it to residential.
I don't have that information with me. What I can tell you is that your average home would generate possibly in the neighborhood of up to 300 gallons per day. So compare that to the size of the gallons anticipated for the buildings here, and you can extrapolate somewhat of a comparison.
But it also, excuse me if I don't understand, but it also gives me a concern because I'm doing thousands of gallons, and that septic field isn't proportionately that much larger than in a resident, then I'm concerned where all this stuff is sitting.
I understand your concern, and I think the state and the county do as well. That's the reason that the permitting process for this type of a septic design is so much more thorough and involved.
Are you going to speak about landscaping too?
Yes.
Okay.
And finally, to wrap up, utilities, simply enough gas and electric would be provided by New Jersey Natural Gas and JCP&L respectively. Moving on to our landscaping and buffering goals for the project. I guess first, as you can see demonstrated here, it's our goal to maintain as much of the existing perimeter vegetation as possible. As demonstrated on the plan here, the areas that you don't see shaded in the light green here, which fall a bit short of the property line, demonstrate that we intend to maintain the vegetation that exists there to the greatest degree we can. Should there be any gaps in that vegetation, we would intend to supplement that with additional trees or evergreens. And again, as part of the subsequent site plan, we may submit this information would be further detailed in a formal landscaping plan, which would identify final locations and species. And regarding your ordinance section 30-54C buffers, as the project is clearly a non-residential development which abuts a residential zone, it requires a strip of land 20% of the average width and depth of a property. So first, if we consider lot depth, or the buffer that would be provided to the rear, the depth is calculated at 668 feet, so 20% of that would require a buffer of 133.6 feet. Now first, we've provided a distance of approximately 277 feet from the rear property line to the near corner of building A. Second, we also have a distance of 140 feet from that same property line to the nearest portion of the parking area. Next, if we consider lot width and the buffer on the bottom side of our sheet, or to the southwest, taking an average of the Red Hill Road frontage and the rear property line yields an average lot width of 306 feet. 20% of that yields for a required buffer of 61.2 feet. We've provided along southwestern property line a buffer of approximately 66 feet from that curb line to the property line. And what we can also provide within these buffer areas is a 6-foot solid fence to help with the screening and blocking of headlights that will be used in the drive aisle and parking areas.
And where would that fence be?
That fence can be along as much of the buffer as needed to ensure complete screening of headlights. So it would essentially follow the entire southwestern property line and as much of the rear or northwest property line as needed to ensure angles of headlights.
You keep using words as needed and surely. Is it definitely going to be running that whole length?
Yes.
I'm just concerned with headlights on property owners' neighbors from the building.
Yes, and again, as part of any site plan application, we would consider the angles of the approaching and departing vehicles to ensure that fences are provided in all areas they would need to be to complete that screening.
So it's going to be a solid fence, like a stockade type
Stockade or
fence.
vinyl, certainly not.
Okay, so no light will go. It's going to be, what, 6 feet high?
Correct.
Okay. Any comments, any questions? No? Everybody's good?
Just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, this is we are still at the variance by bifurcated level. It's really up to the board to ask for that. So the applicant, basically what he stated is that they're willing to put a fence there. So I think that it's the board has the opportunity to stage condition things that would have to be part of the site plan.
I presume that he understands that we're talking about it, that it's already there, but if we need for it to be put down, then it should be put down.
Yeah, see, I think that things like that should be part of the condition, if you were to eventually approve this application, because the site plan will be fully separate.
Right, but then they're obligated to follow whatever we approve, if we approve anything. Right, so to me, that would be a key thing, right? And board members?
Yes.
That neighbors are totally screened from headlights.
And I'll have some comments on buffering at the end of his presentation, just that I referenced in my report. But I just wanted to let the board know that this is your opportunity to look at things like that and make those kind of requests.
Right, yeah, because I was going to say that a few trees there is not a buffer to me. You know, you got to wait 20 years for them to grow. Meanwhile, what do you do? So putting, yeah, I know, but they're asking for a lot, so we can, ask for more, right? We wanted, if we're going to pass this, we need to make sure the neighbors are protected.
Yes.
If we're going to pass it.
It's understandable.
Yeah, just this is actually something where the ordinance, there are both standards related to buffers that do apply.
Okay.
So this ordinance for the buffers, which I cited in my letter, I'll go into later, those are applicable, and the applicant would require variance if they can't meet that. Those are under general ordinance standards rather than particular zone, like the kind of talked about last other bulk standards.
Well, Kate, if you want to jump in at any time and talk about it rather than wait till later, you can, while it's fresh in our mind.
I'm just going to let it figure out anything more to say about landscaping and buffers.
I'm about wrapped up.
No, because as he goes through each segment, I think it's appropriate for you, the professionals, to comment on what he said.
Yeah, I mean, so I was just going through, this is, you're looking at my letter, and I addressed number 5, the section of the ordinance, for non-residential buffers, 30-34, is number 5 in my letter on page 4. And yes, the applicant did address length and the width buffers that are required, 20% of the average. I would also note that there is a required buffer between parking areas and rights of way, that should be 15 feet. And finally, I think that on the larger site, this can be a challenge, but a lot of the areas the applicant is referring to as a buffer are really more what I would call a setback, just because of the way that buffer is defined in the ordinance here. Buffer areas shall be solid and continuous landscape screen to conceal the parking areas, eliminate glare of vehicle lights throughout the year, and camouflage the building from abutting residential use. So obviously this does not mean that they have to put trees within the entire distance between them, but there has to be something that is sufficient, whether that's a combination of fencing and landscaping, as the board suggested. So that's all the points that I wanted to make there. However, I do think that, I'd like, in the front yard where you have a stormwater basin, I'd like to, just get some testimony on how a buffer can be addressed there.
Certainly. So first, just to point out our dimension of buffers that we are requiring for those parking areas. Regarding the frontage along the road, we have a distance of at least 45. Yes, 45 feet from the Red Hill Road right-of-way after the right-of-way dedication to the parking area, and then along the Parkway right-of-way, we have a distance of 28 feet to that parking area. Now, again, the landscaping schemes that you see here primarily identify the frontage, the landscaping scheme conceptually within the bioretention basin. However, we would certainly supplement that with street trees and parking area trees on either side, in addition to the physical landscaping within the basin.
Kate, are you going to talk to them about parking at all, or we're getting into the weeds, getting into parking?
The amount of parking?
No, where they are and how they're located. In other words, like that piece in the rear, to me that should be moved towards the parkway, further away from the residents. I mean, if you have a choice, if we had a choice to put it someplace. But I'm wondering why you put it there.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to have a few questions on parking.
Oh, okay, so I'll let you handle it then. I'm jumping.
Go ahead, Kate.
Go ahead, Kate, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I think that, you know, the fact that there is the landscaping, fire retention facing in the front yard. I'm not sure if that's technically, it may be technically permitted in there because it is a landscape stormwater management feature. But I think, that in order to meet the spirit of the ordinance, you're gonna have to show some kind of, just really the same kind of thing, especially, just something that screens the heading, parking, things like that from Red Hill Road.
Understood.
Any more on parking? Because I have questions on that. Unless I want Bob to go, maybe he'll ask him, and then I'll...
Well, a couple of things on parking. They did have a traffic report that will be testify at another meeting. But we reviewed that traffic report, and we agreed that he may be able to eliminate some of that parking.
Okay, that's a different one. Go ahead.
Yeah, we can eliminate some of that parking towards the rear, which would give you a lot more open space, and maybe the concern that Francine has with the septic systems, we can move the septic system over in that area.
Okay, I had a little different idea, because I'm trying to reduce impact to neighbors. So I'm thinking that...
That would take away some of the impact to the neighbors, completely eliminate.
Well, no, what I was thinking of, the whole row of parking that's by the septic facing the neighbors, if that somehow could be split up, making the driveway move further down and have the parking in the island instead, so the lights are facing towards the building, and the parking in the rear moving that closer to the parkway. So it's not anywhere near that neighbor side. That's what I'm, to make this feasible for us, it has to have the least amount of impact to a residential zone.
Mr. Chairman, I agree. I'm not a traffic engineer, but
Either am I. I'm using common sense.
I agree with Bob's statement that I do think that this site is, I think that the parking standard that, again, is not specifically applicable to this application, but is used elsewhere in the ordinance for medical office, is very high. It's even for medical office, which is kind of famously an intense use building that historically it has been, but it is high in the ordinance. I would suggest that before, I know this is civil testimony, but they do have a traffic engineer who will be putting on his testimony and will address this parking study, because I think the best way to eliminate impact, if the board feels comfortable with it, would be to reduce. But I think that we have to hear their expert discuss that before we can, have that.
Right.
And here in the board's comments, I'll certainly make sure our traffic engineer is aware of it and he's prepared to testify to that.
And one more, that's probably not any requirement anywhere, but as an individual first responder for EMS for Holmdel, I'd like to see a spot dedicated to ambulance right between the two buildings where it's striped, so that when I pull up there to a first aid call, which I'm sure if this gets approved, we will be going there, we can just back our ambulance up to the curb, and the curb has to be wider so that when the tires overlap against the sidewalk, we still have room behind, so you need maybe 6 to 8 feet from behind on the sidewalk, which many buildings don't have it, and there's nothing in any ordinance that says that accounted, but being that I'm on the squad, we deal with this every time. We block the roadway, nobody can get by, we're blocking cars, so.
Understood.
Pass it on to the appropriate people.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
That concluded my direct testimony.
Really? Okay.
Just before, just touch on the outside agency
Certainly.
approvals, just to let the board understand exactly what we need outside of this board's approval.
Sure. First and foremost, not that I would consider it an outside agency, but should we receive any use variance approval, we would obviously return to this board for a site plan application. In addition to that, we would be making application to Monmouth County Planning Board, the Turnpike Authority, should they require any such application, Freehold Soil Conservation District, and the aforementioned sewer applications to the state for the septic system.
Why stay in that county?
Because of the flow threshold, the flow generated by the proposed buildings crosses the threshold where a county has jurisdiction.
Okay.
That's it?
That's it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, professionals, do you have any questions
on anything that he said?
he said?
Kate?
Kate?
No, the only thing I would note is that, you know, when I know exactly somebody noticed this, that if they were to reduce some of the parking, that would may reduce their stormwater basins, which would give them an opportunity to pull things, you know, from neighbors and provide more buffers.
Right, I think they got that idea from all of us, what we're trying to achieve.
We're
so-
certainly not opposed to less
Not at
parking.
all.
Less parking.
Less parking and the location of where the parking is.
Okay.
Okay.
And so
If none of our board members have any questions, comments, anything?
Going back to the easement, because everybody seems to say there's something pending, is there actually an application pending by anybody for this use of the easement, the triangle, site triangle?
So for a site triangle easement benefiting our property, no. Is there something in the works strictly regarding property from which we would need an easement for their own benefits? That I can't say. Our applicant has no application in any capacity regarding a site triangle easement at this time.
Kate has something to
I
say.
mean, this is public knowledge, and I don't have any special information on it, but there is pending litigation regarding use of that property between the developer and the township over buildings.
And the applicant does understand that if that, I guess that site plan doesn't eventually go through, we would be required to get an easement. So the best case scenario would be that site gets developed and there's a 10-foot, you said 10-foot right of way, negating the necessity of an easement. Worst case, it would require us to get an easement from them if they do not have a site plan.
Is that something that we would wait till it goes to the next level?
Well, it would be a condition of approval.
Yeah, not for this part of the application, for the next part if it happens.
And my question is, so the state board, you said it wasn't the county, state board for the septic system, what exactly are you requesting or asking the state board for approval for?
So essentially, first we're asking for them to approve the flow that we're proposing with the means that we're proposing to do. After we get that approval, then you make the application for the full design of the actual system.
So are you asking the state board to tap into the sewers, the existing sewer system? That's what I'm trying to understand.
No, because the site is outside the sewer service area, we're
no
not
sewers
making
there.
an application to put it into the sewer service area. It will strictly be a septic system that's contained on the property. It's just a larger septic system that counties have the authority to approve.
So just to follow up on that question, how do you determine what the flow rate is? Is there a formula for medical buildings and what type of medical they are? You know, a doctor's office versus labs, that they're doing testing on urine and other things?
Yes, the flow thresholds for a variety of given uses are listed in the state septic regulations.
So you're meeting what part of that? Is there a name or something?
If you bear with me one moment, I can dig through my notes to find that information. But feel free to continue while I dig.
No, I'm going to open it up to the public when we're all done. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, we don't know exactly if you have doctor's office or labs in there. So what if that changes and you have more flow than however you're calculating it?
So
And then what happens?
the flow criteria or category that we're using is simply commercial use. And that's listed at either 15 gallons per day per employee or 0.125 gallons per day per square footage, whichever is larger.
And you extrapolate that to 1,800 gallons per building.
I think it was 1860.
So it doesn't account for how many people are going and coming from that?
It's all built into the factor that you would multiply one or the other criteria by.
Okay. Seems an odd way to calculate that, but that's what it is. We can't question that.
Well, the state has certain standards that, this is probably historical data. That's how they came up with these numbers.
I mean, you know, I could see having different types of uses in that building, and they said doctor's office, but whatever, you have a lab where people are doing tests.
That's why.
And waters are running all day long in those
Yeah, but that's
labs.
why they have it on square foot basis also.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we'll wait to see what happens with that. Okay, any other questions from our board? Okay, we'll open it up to the public. Raise your hand and we'll call you up, name, address, and your questions. And it's only on what we heard tonight, nothing in the past. Come on up, ma'am.
Do we need to return the microphone?
Yeah, put the mic back on there, if you can.
Hi, I'm Regina Stephanie. I live at 8 Foxhunt Road, in the country woods, kind of in the area of development. My question is, I'm just trying to gain an understanding of what you're talking about. Where's the entrance going to be? Okay. And the parkway is over there? Okay. How many offices, just refresh my memory, how many offices are going to be there? Is it 2 buildings, 6 in each building?
So this time, it's 2 buildings. Each building is 3 stories, and each building contains a total square footage of 14,880 feet. The actual outfit of each building isn't determined at this time.
Oh, because the last meeting you said you were going to do, I thought 3 floors.
Correct.
And two to each floor, whether they're labs or offices, so that would be 12.
I don't remember that.
Correct. The applicant may have testified to a potential outfit of those buildings.
The applicants all testified to, it wasn't anything particular, again, these are not fitted out, but parties appropriate by state was He testified that each building may contain 6 practices. And, doctors will be sharing the space, and that it's not necessarily going to be 2 practices per floor, because upper floor is empty office, something of that nature. But again, this is not something that the board denies the holding to that.
Okay, and where, I'm trying to gain an understanding, because I have said, where are the leaching fields going?
Those are the 2 boxes that you see here.
Okay. All right, that's it, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question?
Yes, come on up.
Yes, come on up, miss. Oh, she's got a paper, list of them.
Hi, good evening. I'm Christine Harry. I live at 12 Foxhunt Road.
Country Woods.
So aware that the neighbor's property right next door, they don't use public water, they use well water. So that's my first question.
I'm not aware.
Okay. And where you had just described to my neighbor where the leaching fields are, right, I guess south of that, there are 2 barns located, and right by those barns,
there is well water there too. So the 2 wells that are right there,
that's potable water,
and just has that been taken into account?
Those are very good questions.
That is a very good question. And the full design of these septic systems has not been accounted for, but again, excellent.
Here's the mic.
Excellent point.
That.
The state lies out various dimensional separation requirements, one of which is a leaching field to a well. So during our any subsequent design, we would have to ensure that all of those separational requirements are met.
So what's the requirement off the top of your head? Do you have
I
it
do.
somewhere? I'm just curious. Maybe it's going uphill, and then have to get pumps. Well, you can ask that question. Can you put on the other side and raise the pumps? Go ahead. Yeah, this is not a good idea.
So I believe the separation requirement from a well to a disposal field is 100 feet.
So hypothetically, I mean, would it be feasible if you were to move those 2 leaching fields pass where the two buildings are, like if you moved everything down a bit and moved the two leaching fields closer to the parkway, so it wouldn't impact the neighbors at all. Is that possible plan redesign?
It may be possible. We would have to take into account things that were mentioned before, such as topography. It would be a burden to us to identify locations of any such wells bordering the property.
Closer to the parkway, I would imagine there's nothing.
Correct, apart from the one or two homes to the rear of the property.
It's not really north, I guess east, right? If we're going up on the map,
Understood, yeah.
So more east towards the parkway, there's no homes in that direction. I think all the homes are north and west.
Right.
Correct.
I concur with Jason. You may need to put pumps or whatever, but I could see the septic field being on each side of the building against the parkway, because having somebody's wells where they are, 100 feet would bother me. I don't care if that's what the Board of Health says. You know, you're talking about livestock and people drinking water. I wouldn't want to be downhill from that. I'm sure everybody here on the board would agree with that, including our engineer. For the record.
That's correct.
Thank you. And just because I'm asking these questions, it doesn't mean that we're going to say yes to this application, but it's part of our decision-making, just so everybody understands that in the audience.
Mr. Bruco, do you have any concerns about the leaching fields being that close to the drinking water wells?
Yes, and like again, if this was approved, we come back with a site plan, that all would be taken into account.
Thank you.
I also have a question. Where was the residence on here before, a farm? Where was I assume they had septic. Where was their septic field on that property? Where was it located? And did they use well water, or were they using public water at farm?
I'm told it was public water. The home was located in front of the property. I imagine the majority, if not all, of the infrastructure was in close proximity to it.
Okay, but I'd be interested in that septic was before everything was done.
Well, he can't test, he's going to have to testify, whoever that is.
Yeah, he can't.
Did he, but no, he can't, he's testifying. Oh, he's telling him.
Dante, yeah.
All right, so we're going to have
Dante.
Dante.
We'll just have you.
We said we're not going to do any other witnesses, so
Okay.
I don't want to bring in any new witnesses, because I promised Mr. Simon we wouldn't. I hate to have that be an issue, so.
We'll have an answer.
You need a 2-minute break?
I'd actually.
You need a break? You can't.
Take a break and go outside and discuss it and come back and tell us the
But
answer.
I'd actually know where it was located, how large it was, that septic field, when the residence was there.
I know.
One minute.
All right, you're working on that one? Should I ask another public to come
I'll
up?
take can I have a minute?
Yeah, you have a minute. Is there anybody else that will be coming up for a question? Just curious, let's see.
Nobody else?
Nobody else?
Okay.
Okay. No, I'm trying to remember. Right. Oh, okay. I think you're right. Got it? Go ahead.
So at the next meeting, we'll have an exhibit with relation to,
Francine, you listening? He's answering you.
at the next meeting, which is hopefully December 4th, we will have an exhibit to present to the board, which will have more information than what I'm going to give you right now, which is it was approximately 300 gallons, and it was closer to the parkway. So we'll have actual documentation to show and give a little bit more color to what I just testified to.
Yeah, you probably had to if you buried it and you took it out.
I didn't
Board of
bury
Health had
anything.
to give you something. Not to you, but to somebody.
Thank you.
Someone.
Chairman, can they also show us where they're going to tie into the water system and not have a well on site?
Did you hear that?
Yes, we could show that.
Okay.
All right.
Anybody else from the public, last call?
Board
members, do you have any other questions, comments?
One last one.
Go ahead, John.
Regarding the leaching field, aside from the issue that was just discussed about the concern about the leaching field being too close to well water, are there any other potential problems for environmental, for neighbors or otherwise that could be caused by the leaching field that you've looked into?
No, not that we're aware. Excuse me. With the design as it's currently presented.
And keep in mind, as testified, any design with relation to the septic systems would be subject to state approval.
Okay.
All right.
All right, if there's nothing.
State approval also the leaching fields or just the septic? Oh, they do?
The entirety of the system, yes.
Okay.
The setbacks that were being referenced are part of state statute. So, 100 foot from a well, things like that, that's all part of the state's review.
I have another question. That the neighbor that came up and made that comment about the drinking water and well water, is there a possibility that you can find out where that is exactly and mark it on some plan so we know where that is in relation to the field?
Yes, there are some databases that exist for which we can make an Oprah request and see what results are available.
Okay, so that would be for the next meeting, you put that would be on some paper plan or someplace?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I don't think there's anything else at this point. If anybody else has anything, otherwise I'll ask I'll ask, yes, I'm losing it, Courtney for another date.
And I was going to say, so the two largely open items we have are the buffering, what type of buffering is going to go along the property lines where the parking lot is, and how high that's going to be with regards to lighting from car lights and whatnot. And then a lot of questions and open items on the septic systems and the possible redesign of moving those septic systems, I guess east, and then finding out where the current well water is down here. Is there anything else that's open?
I don't know, Marty's been taking lists, or Bob, you've been taking lists?
I would just also.
What do you guys have on your list?
I have those as my interest because I kind of like the broader context here, which is that, I spoke about this when we first talked about the nature of a bifurcated variance, which is that you approve a concept plan, you approve conditions with it, but if the plan is substantially changed, the applicant may have to come back to the board. And I think that some of the things we're talking about tonight, kind of cross the threshold from being conditions of approval. For example, if the applicant were to reduce the parking, the overall site plan may change a lot, and as part of the bifurcation process, you're here to see what you're approving. And the same thing goes for the relocation of the septic system. I think that especially in context with the buffer is a large enough change that it should not just be a condition of approval. So again, we're getting ahead of ourselves, especially with parking. I'm getting ahead of myself because I do want to hear the traffic testimony before you do anything with the parking or make any big changes to the plan. But I just want that in mind, that I think that things of this nature that may involve, 100-foot setback for the leaching pits versus a 10-foot setback. That's something that is part of the concept. In my opinion, that's something that can't just be, just around a site plan approval.
I get what you're saying, but the way I look at it is they came in because they want to not go through the expense of going through the whole application. If the board doesn't want to go forward, we would save them financial expense from proposing the whole complete plan. So even though these things can be addressed at a later application, if we did grant this, I'd like to know the answers ahead of time, because to me, I want to know
I think she's saying put it as a condition
if we go to the next level.
No, I'm saying that these are, and again, we're not asking for fully engineered site.
Right.
I'm saying that something to the extent of reducing if they were to basically change the site plan and change the concept plan, the site layout in a dramatic fashion or a substantial fashion. That's something this board should see before you approve
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why we're saying all these
So we're
things.
talking about moving parking lots,
Right.
moving the septic tanks, and then looking at the buffer zone, the fencing, the stockade fencing, and the trees, tree lines.
Right, so something like fencing is kind of different than negative fencing, you know, there is sort of like a nuance to it, fencing, you can make that a condition of approval, but first you have to know where the parking lots are going, and where you want that fencing to go. So, I don't think that the board has given the applicant any directives tonight to change anything, and I don't think that's why.
Well, they get the idea from our comments. Exactly.
Yeah, we're certainly going to take them into consideration and see if we can address some
The
of that.
goal here is that if we approve it, it has to be the least amount of impact on the neighbors.
Understandable.
And again, I think we have to wait for the traffic testimony, or I'd like to hear the traffic testimony with regards to anything about changing this regulation.
Okay.
All right.
Well, if there's nothing else, Courtney, we have another date?
I just want to make sure the audience, members of the audience, is there any questions on what we just spoke about? Okay.
They can't speak.
All right,
Well, take notes so you can tell your attorney.
Okay, Courtney.
Okay, Courtney, do we have another date?
You can watch the tape.
December 4th.
December 4th, nothing else is on that, so they got the whole thing. So that's, are all your professionals going to be at that hearing?
Again, on the December 4th meeting, we will only have traffic and planning testimony. So some of the comments that are mentioned tonight will not be addressed at that meeting because our engineer will not be available, so we will not be able to touch on buffering and that sort of thing. But we will be able to provide, again, planning testimony and traffic testimony and address any comments and concerns. Then, Mr. Simon is not available, or Mr. Simon will be available at that meeting, but for cross-examination and obviously additional testimony with relation to engineering, we'll have to find another date.
Okay, and the last meeting of the year is December 18th. Is that still open? So tentatively, that would be when the engineer would be back.
Let us check our calendars really quick.
Yeah, because that's the last meeting of the year. Otherwise, then you're dealing with a whole new board and everything.
I don't know the availability for our traffic or planner. I know they're both available for the 4th. I would love to not have multiple meetings, but I just don't want to say yes, the 18th, and then I have to tell you no.
All right, so what do you want to do then? We have to carry it to some meeting. So go for the 4th, and then if they want to combine it with the 8th and put it all on the 18th, we could switch it? What happens?
Let's stay with the 4th for now. Yeah, we have plenty of testimony for the 4th,
Okay.
and then we can discuss about the 18th
And you'd have to
at that meeting.
to see what Mr. Simon's.
I don't know if we're good at 18th. but we'll
Yeah.
see.
All right, so
We'll start with the 4th, and we'll worry about the 18th later.
Yes.
Okay.
So, just for the record, so after the planner and traffic, do you have any other witnesses besides your engineer coming back, or?
No.
Okay.
We have
So,
traffic
just let
planner.
Mr. Simon, I don't think it's gonna go that quick, but if it does on the 4th, and the questions are done, if he has a witness, he may talk to Courtney to see whether we should have your witness ready on that day as well. I know we're still reserving another day for the engineer, but if you're done quick, we may wanna get your witness on as well, I mean, to keep it flowing. If that person's not available, please let Courtney know again prior to the 4th.
Okay.
We don't want to have them sit here all meeting and not do anything, as a courtesy to you, but if you're going to be not too long, I don't think you're going to be that long.
No.
Traffic and planning.
Well, I don't know if he,
Maybe a lot of questions, but
if your traffic engineer is going to bring up some of the points we made tonight.
Well, I'll mention it to him
Okay.
so that he's prepared.
All right, if that's it, I think we're finished. So can I have a motion to adjourn?
wait. Officially, we have to carry it to the 4th without further notice.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't use the exact words. Okay. We will be carrying this to the 4th without further notice. Yep, December 4th. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that motion to adjourn.
Jason, second it.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. We do appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. Courtney will do it in a minute.
Mike.